ÖBB's Nightjet is the most prevailing night train brand in Europe, and following the initial introduction of their new generation train sets at the end of 2023, ÖBB has since expanded their reach on their extensive network. The route from Amsterdam, the Dutch capital, to Vienna, the Austrian capital, has been using these new train sets since the end of May, and I'll be spending 14 hours in the brand new mini cabin, arguably one of Europe's most innovative railway designs. Now join me as the journey continues. Tonight, we'll be starting at Amsterdam Centraal, the main station serving the Dutch capital and a personal favourite, not least due to its grand design and central location. The original design dates back to 1889 and is currently undergoing major renovation works as part of a large-scale modernisation plan and will be completed in 2030, but this still doesn't stop the over 192,000 passengers who use the station daily and remains as one of the most visited national heritage sites in the Netherlands. Thankfully, most of the main station concourse seems to have been completed, and that even includes the brand new Eurostar terminal for their services to and from London, which is such an improvement from the old one. Have you used it yet? That's not where we need to be though. Instead, we'll go through the barriers to access the main station area. Here's where you'll find most of the station's shops and eateries, which I do recommend you make use of as there's no proper catering or dining car on board the Nightjet, which I'll come back to as we get on board. As I arrived fairly early and had already made my preparations, I decided to head up to the platforms to enjoy the trains ahead of the 14-hour odyssey to Vienna, being greeted by the grand 1800s built train shed. Despite the ongoing renovation works and the diversion of many intercity services to Amsterdam Zuid, Centraal Station remains a major hub for Dutch state operator NS's domestic services, some of which are operated using the iconic Koploper trains, as well as most of the city's international traffic, notably Eurostar services to Brussels, Paris and London, and also high-speed ICE trains to Germany, all of which now use the brand new ICE 3 Neo. The ICE arriving into Platform 2 reminds me that I can make use of the NS International Lounge there, made possible as I'm travelling using a first-class Interrail pass. Sleeper and Couchette tickets on their own don't grant free access as they're classed as second class by NS, but minus the complimentary welcome drink and a quiet space to do some work, I really don't see any benefit paying to use it in all honesty. I stayed in the lounge until around 6:30. My Nightjet was shown at Platform 4, being formed of one portion going to Innsbruck in the Austrian Alps and another to Vienna, the latter of which I'm taking tonight. Our Nightjet arrives from the depot around 15 minutes before departure. Leading is an NS Siemens Vectron locomotive that has been hauling the Dutch Nightjets as far as Germany since they were introduced in 2021, and trailing are two Nightjet Next Generation sets, the front set for Innsbruck and the rear set, R1, for Vienna, as helpfully indicated by the display screens. These 230 km/h capable sets, also manufactured by Siemens, are formed of 7 carriages each, consisting of 2 sleeper cars, 3 Couchette cars, 1 multifunction car and 1 seating car. They were first introduced by the Austrian Federal Railways between Vienna and Hamburg in December 2023, and have since gained their licensing to operate in further countries, such as Italy and the Netherlands. The cab car, which resembles the Vectron, is still undergoing authorization approvals for push-pull operations and is being led by the locomotive, meaning we'll get some pretty cool shots later on. Compared to the older stock these replaced, there are electronic displays to make sure you're in the correct portion of the train. I'm in a mini cabin tonight and these are situated in the Couchette cars, mine being number 433. Unlike the similarly designed Railjet 2, the new Nightjet only has level boarding on the multi-function car, the remaining 6 carriages having several steps to board, but it's still much smoother than the older stock. The first thing to do is to pick up the key card which operates the lock on the cabin door, as well as the lockers right next to it, or so it should in theory. Also provided for each mini cabin passenger is a small chocolate wafer, as well as a bottle of water. Very nice. Our route to Vienna sees us cross 3 countries, heading east through the Netherlands before crossing the border into Germany where most of our trip takes place. During the night, our Vectron will be swapped for an ÖBB Taurus at Nuremberg, where we'll also join with the Hamburg to Vienna Nightjet for the final stretch into Austria after Passau. All being well, our total journey time will be 14 hours and 17 minutes, covering a distance of 1,264 kilometers. We leave Amsterdam Centraal right on time and with some spectacular views of this grand station as we begin the 14-hour overnight odyssey down to Vienna.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the Nightjet 421 to Vienna and Innsbruck. The numbers 427 till 421 going to Innsbruck and 437 till 431 is for Vienna. We wish you a pleasant journey, and after 10 o'clock this evening there are no announcements anymore because it's sleeping time.
The route we're taking now is not the usual one this Nightjet normally takes. Owing to engineering works on the Emmerich corridor into Germany, we instead go on the route via Deventer and Hengelo as opposed to via Utrecht and Arnhem as we make our way towards the border. Over 30 minutes of travel later sees us arrive into our first stop of Amersfoort, located in the Utrecht province and around 10 minutes or so by train from the city of Utrecht itself. All of our stops in the Netherlands and some in Germany are pick-up only, giving plenty of places to join the train if you're not local to Amsterdam. Now before I dive into the mini cabin in detail, I have to start on a negative note. Normally, luggage storage is operated by using your keycard on the lock sensor. This then unlocks the shoe cabinet to place your shoes like this, as well as a larger one above for light luggage such as a backpack. Unlike the other compartments near to me, however, my main luggage compartment appeared to be broken, which is where the additional luggage storage space at the bottom comes in handy. This is only on the lower mini cabins, so these are an ideal choice if you have larger items with you, or in my case, the lock sensors don't work. The steps in between the luggage compartments just here are used to gain access to the top cabins, which is easy enough to do, just not so easy to do with a camera in one hand. As for getting into my lower cabin, well, not a problem. This is fairly easy to do despite how small it looks from the outside. On that note, the amount of space in here is a lot more generous than you'd expect. As you can see, my fully extended legs don't even reach the closing point of the door, and this isn't even with me at the very end of the cabin. Overhead space, I also found this to be okay. As you can see, the space is not narrow between the top of my head and the cabin ceiling. This tag here by the door can be used to keep it open to prevent it from sliding out, though since the inaugural ride the door's a lot more stiff in terms of its movement, so it won't slide as easily as before thankfully. There's also a small divider between both lower cabins, which if you're travelling with friends or family is ideal, but I'll keep it locked since I'm travelling on my own. As with the sleeper cabins, there's a space at the front to store your keycard, as well as a small card for the onboard information such as facilities or safety through a QR code, though this is also in a leaflet just next to the window, along with some brown paper bags for rubbish. As for the base comfort, this does the job well, suitable for both sleeping and sitting on, especially for 14 hours. I also love the sliding tray table as well, which holds into place upright when not in use so as not to obstruct you whilst you're sleeping, though the cup holder was a bit large for bottles. It also features a mirror on the base too. The coat hooks just here are handy for placing clothes so they don't get in the way and stay firmly in place so are a lot less fiddly. By the windows are a 220V power and USB-A socket, with a wireless charging point being in a small space next to the wall divider and a cup holder, which work perfectly fine on my iPhone. Just above the USB-A socket is a switch for operating the personal reading light, though I didn't really use this much thanks to the control panel just here, which alongside being able to turn the main lights on and off has a pretty cool feature. Yep, mood lighting. It really creates a great vibe in the mini cabins. My personal favourite is the dark blue one, but why don't you let me know your favourite colour in the comments. The panel also allows you to alert the attendant if you need anything, as well as see whether the toilets and washroom in the carriage are occupied, with them lighting up red if any of them are. Very useful. Sadly, there's no aircon control on the panel, but just above are two air vents which were good at making the cabin cool on this incredibly warm day. Next to the control panel is an emergency button, with a hammer being next to the window in case of emergency evacuation. The window containing two drawdown blinds, one to slightly reduce the sun glare and another to block out the window entirely when sleeping. I do think a lot was crammed into the mini cabin, but it was done in a way that everything just works. It's smart, effective and does the job well, minus the little mishap with the luggage storage. We continue to cruise through the Netherlands at the 130 km/h line speed, which, whilst nowhere near the train's capability, is still a smooth ride. As we do so, something I'd like to highlight is the lack of communal space on board. Whilst there is a tip-up seat in front of each mini-cabin group, I did find that most corridors and vestibules were pretty crowded with people socialising. Maybe one to fix, ÖBB? On that note, it is a shame that there's no dining car on board. I do think this would solve this and fill a much needed gap on European night trains. There is catering on board the Nightjet, but this is nowhere near as good as ÖBB's daytime railjet service. Instead, I just sat in my cabin and enjoyed the food I bought back in Amsterdam. We have now passed Hengelo, which indicates that we're closing in on the Dutch-German border. I decided to head to the rear sleeping car to get shots crossing the border, but first, here's a look at the regular Couchette, which consists of 4 berths. This is largely the same as the refurbished Comfort Couchettes Nightjet use, but includes mood lighting and other few minor differences. Both sleeping cars have 2 types of accommodation. 2 Comfort Plus Deluxe sleepers, which were all occupied by both staff and passengers, and the regular Comfort sleepers, which I rode on the inaugural in 2023. These include ensuite bathrooms with showers, but you can check out my full review of this if you want to learn more. Anyway, there's no signage or anything else fancy to indicate the border crossing. You instead have to pay attention to the catenary change as we switch from the 1.5 kV DC used in the Netherlands to Germany's 15 kV AC system. And here we are, welcome to Germany. Shortly after, we briefly stop at the border station of Bad Bedtime, though this is a non-commercial stop to maintain pathing and change drivers. Now I bet you're wondering, what's the bathroom situation on the mini cabins? Well, sadly there's no communal shower on board as all sleeper cabins are ensuite with showers, but there is a washroom to freshen up a bit in the morning, as well as gendered toilets as you saw from the monitor earlier. Both of these were clean for the most part. That is until someone thought it was wise to put a bottle of alcohol in the male toilets partway through the night. Here's the seating area in the multi-function car, which features some steps down to the lower level. These are the same as economy on the Railjet too, and whilst there's a second seating car, that one was much busier than this one, with most people going all the way to Vienna. I don't recommend this though, except as a last resort. One thing I will say though is there is increased security here with the new Nightjet thanks to the NFC locks, which you can either use with your contactless bank card or set your own passcode, which I personally prefer. In the vestibule of the multifunction car, you'll find a disabled room, and whilst there's no peek at it on this trip, here's a shot from when I did the inaugural new Nightjet to show you inside. This features 4 beds and wheelchair accessible seats, with the room being sold at the price of a regular seat to the occupant. Next to the room is the wheelchair accessible toilet, which I found to be spacious and clean, give or take the drops of tap water on the floor. One feature that may please many Dutch viewers is the space for bike storage. There's a small ramp by the steps just here to carry your bike up to it, and there are numerous spaces for 6 bikes in total, with reservations costing €12, which for an overnight train isn't massively bad, especially at the prices many day trains cost. Afterwards, I headed back to my mini cabin to get ready for bed as I'd had quite a long day. Sadly, the pillows are where they fall flat, as is the case with the main Couchettes. You only get one small pillow, which is not well padded at all. As it was fairly warm, I ended up resting it on top of the sheets for additional comfort during the night. Just before bed though, I ended up getting some channel work done using the free Wi-Fi, which worked pretty well fortunately. The ÖBB RailNet portal also allows access to TV shows, movies, and the onboard menu amongst other things, so plenty of ways to keep entertained. As sunset draws near, we pull into Westphalia Hauptbahnhof just after 10 PM, our first commercial stop in Germany, which is my cue to get some much needed rest. Right, good night all, and I'll see you bright and early in the morning.
Many unbearable hours later.
After 7-ish hours of mostly uninterrupted sleep, minus the shunting procedure in Nuremberg at 4 AM, a very good morning. The night was actually pretty decent and I mostly slept well minus that little incident, but I'm well rested and ready to take on the day. On that note, we pull into our final stop in Germany, Passau, around 45 minutes late, which is the border town with Austria and often where ID checks are performed by border police on specific individuals. Shortly after leaving Passau, we cross over the River Inn and then into Austria itself, this marking the last country and last few hours before journey's end at Vienna. That being said, we have a few commercial stops to make first in Austria. The first is Wels, and it's here where the attendant gives me the light breakfast I was offered last night, my breakfast slot being 7:30 AM. This consists of the typical Kaiser roll with butter and jam, alongside a drink of choice, mine being water as no orange juice was available. Our stop at Linz, Austria's third largest city, indicates we're about to enter the new Westbahn high-speed line, where we reach 200 km per hour. Despite this line being rated for 250 km per hour operation, the cab cars not being authorised means the new Nightjet can't reach its 230 km per hour top speed, but this still allows for great shots from the back heading towards Vienna. Our last stop before Vienna is St. Pölten, where we somehow managed to pick up the majority of our delay to only be running a few minutes late. That's some serious timetable padding. With only over 20 minutes to go before the end of our journey, let me summarise. I do think the mini cabin is a fantastic concept and I would definitely use it again. It's great to see many of the issues with them when they were first introduced fixed, though the faulty storage lockers and lack of a dining car and communal showers remain issues, especially given ÖBB is still using its dynamic pricing model on its Nightjet services. My mini cabin cost me €79 alongside my Interrail pass a few days in advance, and would have cost €159 without it, which is sadly the only affordable way to get a private room on the Nightjet these days, given you can, for example, often end up paying an eye-watering €600 for a private regular cabin on this and other Nightjet routes, even with an Interrail pass, which I do think is ridiculous, especially with the growing popularity of sleeper trains and the emergence of competitors threatening ÖBB's night train monopoly, meaning their dream could soon turn into a nightmare.
Dear passengers, in a few minutes we will reach our end station, Vienna Main Station. We would like to say goodbye to all our passengers and look forward to welcoming you on board again very soon. Thank you for choosing Nightjet to make your journey.
Following the announcement after Vienna's Meidling station, we pull into Wien Hauptbahnhof around 5 minutes later, amazingly arriving bang on time at 9:17 despite the many delays earlier.
We're leaving, bye! Thank you so much.
Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you tried the new Nightjet yet? What do you think of the mini cabin concept, and has this video inspired you to give it a go? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Okay, I'm off for a day out in Vienna before heading home later on. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.